Hey, what's up? So I am in my office and I got my artwork, my plant that I'm trying to revive, my bookshelf with my books. I don't have a ton of books, but I've read most of them. And they're color coordinated. My funky mirror, and today is going to be just more of a chill chat, and I'm going to walk through how I've raised $25 million from individuals and family foundations and help my clients raise over $30 million. And I've been running my own business for almost 7 years. And I just wanted to share more about my story. If you're newer to my world, then this is going to be really helpful for you to get to know me and understand my background and what I do and what I'm all about. So let's do it. I can't believe that I have been in fundraising for 16 years. Like, where does the time go? I mean, there's so much that's happened in that time. I've gone through the Great Recession. I'm getting my water cup. It's really dirty. I was playing basketball and I got my cup really dirty. So, been through the Great Recession. That was nuts. Been through global pandemic, 9/11. I guess 9/11 happened when I was in high school. I was starting to think of all like the global craziness that I've been through. I started my career during the Great Recession. In 2009 is when I became a fundraiser, and I was a one-person development shop at a community center in South LA, South Los Angeles, and they knew that I had no experience whatsoever. But I had a friend who was like, hey, I think you would be good at fundraising. And I didn't even know that that was a full-time job. The rest is history, right? I mean, they hired me knowing I didn't have any experience, and they agreed to train me, which was really, really generous. And they actually did do that. If you've been in fundraising for a while, then you know just how kind of rare that is, right? Sadly. And our budget at the time was around $1 million, and it was a lot of grants. And then there was just everything, right? I did everything, every kind of fundraising and things that were not fundraising. Individual giving. We had a gala. We had a silent auction. I managed over 50 volunteers. I managed interns. I updated the website. I wrote press releases. I did corporate giving and sold sponsorships. I wrote letters of inquiry, LOIs, and grant applications and grant proposals. And it was really an amazing experience because I learned how to do all of these different kinds of fundraising. But yeah, I mean, it was way too many jobs. I just named like 12 jobs. So some of y'all know how it is. That to say, I've been there. And that was my first fundraising job out of college. And I learned that I was pretty good at it. And so I kept going. And at the time, my big dream was to work at United Way, because I thought, oh my gosh, like that's the big time, right? If I could work at United Way, that would be me I would be working for the best. So that was my big dream. And eventually I did get there. In between, I was doing fundraising, and I was also working part-time as a personal assistant to a really wealthy family. So I kind of got an inside look into how ultra high net worth individuals live, how they make decisions, how much money they spend on dry cleaning, how they invest in their kids. I did not come from a wealthy background by any means, so it was news to me, and that really changed my perspective. I eventually got a temp gig at United Way of Greater Los Angeles. That was the only position that was available at the time. And I applied and I was like, look, I want to work here full time. What's it going to take? And they were like, well, people who typically do really well in these temporary campaign associate jobs get hired full time. So we'll see. right? It wasn't a promise, but it was like promising seemed. If I do well, then we'll see how it goes. And I was put on the combined federal campaign. So CFC, if you're familiar, if you're not, I'll just give you a quick rundown. Basically, federal employees in the US government give a portion of their paycheck to different charities, and United Way runs that campaign. And so I would go and speak to federal employees, and it was a lot of public speaking to groups of people. And it was during a time where there were a lot of furloughs. So people were they weren't in the best of moods, right? The mood was really, really crappy, and rightfully so. The morale was really low. And so I had to speak on charitable giving in front of all of these employees who were their coworkers were, getting laid off essentially, or temporarily not being paid. It was really rough, but I learned how to speak in a way that was engaging with people who honestly were just there for the donuts, and they didn't care what I had to say, but I had to learn how to talk to them and talk in front of them. And it was a tough crowd, but it was a really great training ground. And then the VP of development at United Way at the time was like, hey, I think that you could do really well on the major gifts team. And that changed my life. So I joined the major gifts team, and for the next 3 years, raised $2.5 million from individuals. And I typically had a goal where I needed to, I had, let's say, 300 plus people in my portfolio, pretty much. And I was running events, and I was running the Emerging Leaders program, which was young professionals who donate $1,000 a year, who are under 40. And that was really fun. I loved it. And I was really successful there. I had an amazing mentor, and I learned about, for the first time, what I call now the invisible millions, but it's basically asset-based fundraising and how to raise money from people's wealth and their assets, not cash that's in the bank. And that really catapulted the amount of money that I was able to raise in a year. Before it was like $800K. Now we're talking millions from fewer people, which was more sustainable. So it was a better way to raise money. And essentially now that's what I teach folks. Fast forward, I worked at Lyft, which is a national anti-poverty organization. They had a location here in Los Angeles. I was the director of development there, and I trained all of their executive directors across all of their different locations in the US, New York, Chicago, DC, and that was really fun. And I left that role. It was a lot of working with celebrities and a lot of events, and a lot of major gifts was the big priority. And I managed a team there. And I didn't really have anything lined up, so I had a friend reach out and ask me if I could help them raise millions of dollars. And that yes was my first foray into being a consultant and running my own business and teaching people how to do what I had been doing. And that was successful, and they raised over $5 million in cash, and we worked together for 9 months, and I trained their team and their executives. And I thought, okay, I kind of like this. This is fun. It's challenging, and I kept going. That was in 2018. And then after that, people heard about that campaign. They wanted to work together. In 2020, everything obviously changed. The whole world changed. I moved everything online, and that's when I created my digital course and 6-month program called Courage Lab. And the reason that I started Courage Lab is because I was doing this one-on-one call once with an executive director of a really great nonprofit. And they were doing, it's an education nonprofit. And they were providing education for young girls who wouldn't been able to go to school otherwise. Really close to my heart. Okay, girls' education, I'm very passionate about that. And there was this donor that this executive director had who was a mentor, was giving $8,000 a year, was really supportive, was saying things like, hey, let me know what you need. Let me know if you need anything else. I'm here. Every time that she asked for a meeting, they'd say yes. They gave a lot of advice. And I was on this call with her and we looked up this donor's family foundation and they were giving away close to $2 million a year. And she's very close with this donor. They spoke at least once a week. And I said to her, I'm like, look, you cannot ask for anything smaller than like 50, 100K. Honestly, I just can't even let you do it. Like, it would be wrong based on everything that you're telling me about this donor and everything that I'm learning about their passion, their commitment, how much they're in your corner personally. Like, you gotta go for it. And she just looked at me and she said, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not comfortable asking for that much money. So the most she was willing to ask for was $12,000. She went back to the donor. She asked for $12,000. They said yes. I mean, it still bothers me. And I realized, I'm like, people need courage. It's not enough to have the right strategy. It's not enough to know that your donors have capacity. It's not enough to be doing great work. It's not enough. Like, you have to have the guts to make these asks. Oops. You have to have the guts to make these asks. And if you don't, like, that's really the biggest barrier. That's the biggest difference maker between people who are raising what they're raising now or raising what they hope to raise. It's courage. And I've seen it. And the more honest that people get with me, they're like, yeah, I know that I need more courage. And this is their job, right? Like, our job is to ask people to join us, to give. That is the job. And time after time, the more executive directors, development directors, VPs of development, CEOs, major gifts officers that I spoke to, I just found over and over that people were working really, really hard to raise small gifts and they don't have the guts to ask for bigger ones, but they have a sense like, yeah, my donors could probably give bigger gifts. One of the questions that I ask people the most often is, what percentage of your donors are giving their best gifts? And people usually say 5%. So this is what I help people to do, is stop leaving money on the table with their current donor base and start raising an additional 200, 500, 800K in the short term, because it's just sitting right there and they need the right approach. They need the right tools to make those asks and they need the accountability to get it done. And just having the right roadmap is not enough. It's not enough. That's what I've learned doing this. Now, having been in business for myself almost 7 years, it'll be 7 years in August, and I get emails from clients all the time. I just got an email on Friday. I'm recording this on a Monday, and my client raised an $810,000 gift, and she asked for $1.5 million. And she said, this is a gift that I never would have asked for, to a donor that I never would have asked. But Julie, you gave me the courage to ask for bigger gifts, and I did, and I have. I asked for 1.5, and then the donor came back and said, how about 810? And this was a completely unplanned for ask and an unplanned for amount that they received. And the thing that I'm so proud of the most is her level of courage. It's not even necessarily like, yes, the money is amazing because it's going to change lives. This is the VP of development who raised this gift at a mid-sized international development organization. So that means that this $810,000 that she wasn't even planning to ask for, or 1.5 she wasn't planning to ask for, that she raised, is going to change the lives of people who are the most forgotten about, who are living in abject poverty. That's real change. That's why I do this. And I'm so proud of her that she went for it. And it wasn't a sure thing. It wasn't. Okay, I drink electrolytes and these are my favorite. This is not an ad. peach mango. That's the flavor you want right there. That's where it's at. Let me get a couple scoops. So now I have a group program that the results, they typically 10x their investment in the first 30 days. So whatever you pay me, you raise 10 times in the first 30 days, because I want it to be a no-brainer, basically. I want it to be a sure thing for people who it's the right fit, They're looking for training and coaching and accountability and to become better leaders and better managers of their team and of their board. And they want to do it in community. They're tired of doing this work alone. And they're already raising 6 figures from individuals, but they need to double that. Or they're raising $1 million from individuals and they want to raise $2 million this year. Like, you have bold goals for growth because you want to create a bigger impact in the world, in your community. Not necessarily because you're just trying to keep the lights on, or you need, I don't know, like whatever would be, there are other reasons, right? But what my clients are able to do in raising more money is serve the people that are on their wait lists, is hire top talent. Because now they're, instead of saying like, oh, let me just hire first and then raise more money, they raise the most money that they can from their current donors and then are in a better position to hire top talent because they've raised more money first. And then, right, my clients are putting 9 months of funding in reserve. They are in the black. They're in the green. They're closing $300,000 gifts from somebody who previously was giving $10,000 because they leverage asset-based fundraising. And I know maybe that sounds so intimidating, but it's really just asking people to give a 10 times larger gift, 60 times larger gift on average. I know that sounds crazy. It's true. That is just, it's the math on this. Without reaching into their wallet, without reaching in to get their cash, they can give larger gifts. So it's a win-win. It's a win for you because you get to get a larger gift. It's a win for them because they get to give larger gifts without dipping into their checking account, without reaching into their wallet. I've raised more money really stressed and really anxious, and my hair was falling out. I was losing weight. I couldn't keep weight on. I wasn't sleeping well. I was bending over backwards to try to raise more money, and I was completely burning out. And I've also done it really abundant, having fun. I worked at a news story for 14 months, something like that, a little over a year, and raised $2.5 million there, mostly from getting current donors to give their best gifts. And I was a co-pilot to the CEO there in all of the largest asks that were 6 and 7 figure asks. And that is why I was brought on to the team. They wanted more people who could close those larger gifts. And that was so fun. I absolutely loved it. I met the most amazing people. Both the donors and the team were just incredible. And I got to get even more creative in the way in which I was doing asset-based fundraising. So that was a really powerful experience. And in learning how to do this in all the different ways, stressed and abundant, that's what I teach my clients. You can do this in a sustainable way. You do not have to push yourself to the edge. You can actually raise more money with less effort, less time. I teach my clients how to double their individual revenue in 1 to 2 hours a week of focused effort. And a lot of it is because I've done some of the work for them, right? I've written some of these emails. I have a 1-page proposal template. I have a pitch framework that is proven, that I've used for 16 years, that we've raised over $65 million, myself and my clients combined, with this pitch framework. So I know what works. I've bravely asked people for feedback, and it's been really helpful. So this has been proven. It's not theory. It's something that I personally use and that my clients still use that they're winning with now. A huge part of my story is that I am a follower of Jesus, and I'm also really obsessed with personal development and personal growth. And so I've read so many books on how to get better at fundraising and how to be a more courageous person. I've become a student of courage. I constantly want to be taking more risks and growing. That's part of why I'm doing this YouTube channel. It's a risk. It's not a sure thing. I am new at this, and I like that, right? Because I want to model and embody what I hope my clients are doing. If I hope my clients take more risks, then I need to be doing that, right? I was trained as a coach, so I've had executive coach training. And so my style is both advisement, consultant, but it's also coaching and asking questions to help you come to your own conclusions. I want people to build trust and confidence in themselves. And part of that is I can help people to follow their own instinct and their own voice and really validate what they already know is true and what's going to work. And they just need a sounding board to move forward. We all need that. We all need a partner like that. And so that's really the role that I play oftentimes for clients, is to help them think through really big decisions, ask amounts, when to let go of a board member, when to hire, really big choices, right, that have a big impact on the future of your organization. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope that this was encouraging to you. I hope that you feel less alone in your work. If you want to work together, you can go to my website or you can DM me on LinkedIn. Julie Ordonez is where you can find me, and I hope to connect with you soon. Thanks for watching.